comics, look at Batman. Whiny, angsty, rich white kid.
Yeah.
But the best comment I think I've ever heard was Todd McFarlane when he was drawing Spider-Man, and he just said flat out, like, why does everybody assume Spider-Man is white?
Well,
I mean, there are a couple times where he's revealed his mask, but generally speaking, why would everyone...
so why would you see, like, so that's the thing, is, like, that's interesting. Like, let's say, like, I'd never heard of Spider-Man before, and I saw an issue, and I picked it up, and I was reading it, and he didn't take his mask off, and he didn't take his mask off, and he didn't take his mask off, and there was no interaction, like, with any of his family or anyone he's biologically related to. Now, if, let's say we both were doing that, would you assume the hero is black, and would I assume the hero is white? Are we trying to project that onto ourselves? I mean, are we trying to put ourselves in his shoes? Oh, here's a hero. He's cool. He's fast. He's strong. He's got powers.
In comics, most times not. You can kind of tell because most times not that the African American character you can tell there's bits of slang tossed about. So
but I mean, I'm just saying, like, hypothetically, let's say we're from a foreign country. Let's say we just got off the plane from, like, the one country in the world that never saw Spider-Man. And, how would we project ourselves to that hero, So this might even tie back to what we started with in the beginning.
I think it just depends on depth of story.
It's kind of funny, but you guys read The Boys, right? Do you read The Boys?
Yeah, The Boys.
Yeah,
Mother's
like
Milk.
you have the one on the 7, and now technically in The Boys the heroes are the bad guys, but of the 7 there's that one, the shadow guy, the guy's all in black. There's one that you really don't know what's underneath there because he's freaking crazy, but you have no idea like what's under there. So that's one that's kind of.
Just speaking of just like racial stereotypes in comics, you think comics have brought a lot of negativity to kind of getting the ball rolling for racial, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, I mean, do you think comics have contributed a lot to the negative stereotypes? If you look back to like the Spirit, his black sidekick Ebony. With like the white lips, or Captain America with the Japanese, they were yellow monkey vampires.
No more than any other any other artistic medium has. Like, you know what I mean? Like you just look at advertisement alone.
Yeah.
I think they definitely take the cake for historically for just like portraying horrible stereotypes. But I mean, next to that, obviously, would be like TV, radio, entertainment, that kind of stuff.
I mean, that's the thing. We're looking at whole social movements here. Like, look what we were talking about, like the 70s with that large influx, especially in Marvel, of black characters.
That were just strictly for black.
Black exploitation stuff.
If Shaft wasn't successful, would we have had Luke Cage, where it's like, oh man, that hard hitting like
even
Private Eye works. Let's just translate that and make him.
I mean, I honestly have a hard time believing like you have a character like the Dazzler, who comes in like 1980, and the disco scene. I mean, it's everybody pretty much understood that was the gay scene, and like that's a great way to get more gay readers. I have a really hard time believing that they weren't thinking that when they made the Dazzler.
Well, I mean, it could be a subconscious allegory too, maybe.
Right.
That just a writer and just a result of the product of the time.
Let's not forget, these are companies. Their goal is to make money.
Right.
If it sells, they'll keep doing
it.
And
in 1980, at that point, like disco was like kind of teetering off. So to come up with a character like that, like they must have had definitely the gay community in mind when they made her.
Dazzler costumes you see at gay pride parades.
I was Dazzler in the gay pride parade.
And cut the clip.
That was me.
Race in comics is just kind of indicative of how society plays itself. I mean, like you said, the 70s, we had the black exploitation. In the 80s, you definitely had a shift. I want to say that Marvel was a little astute to it, a little bit more than the other mainstream DC, in the sense that, like with Storm, who was a very strong character. It was the 80s. We were shifting from disco to kind of almost kind of punk. I mean, you had like your Billy.
She kind of went through a punk phase.
Right, she got punk. She had a leather jacket.
I thought it was kind of cool as a kid.
She had this white
awesome.
mohawk, and she kind of changed with the times. And in the 90s, we got things were more. You had social consciousness. You had like art, music groups like Public Enemy, NWA, and you can definitely tell that race in comics kind of reflected that. People, there were more, things were more socially acceptable, or the black superheroes seemed to be more socially conscious of what was going on in their surroundings.
Well, and also like throughout the 80s and 90s, you had some prominent black writers come into the fold
Right,
too.
you had,
but
like I said,
once, and I mean that's the thing though. Is like you look at it, like the majority. That's the problem I think is the majority of comic characters are white males, written by white males.
Yeah.
You get that smattering of prominent black creators in there writing these prominent black characters, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, it seems like they're almost ghettoized in the sense that like. Are we ever going to see Charlie Hudson? How do you say his name?
Reginald Hood, which artist or
He's been
writer?
writing Black Panther, I think.
Oh, Reginald Hoodlin.
Reginald Hoodlin, sorry. Are we going to see him tackle Superman anytime soon? That might be kind of doubtful.
Well,
But like, if
probably
you look at
animation.
the indie comics, though, and everything seems. I mean, race isn't really, is never really a question
Right.
because they handle it so well. It's so much more realistic. Like, I mean, even with the crazy superhero. But even like the crazy like there's a new thing coming out now with like the anti like superheroes like the weird, you know, like the boys and like Irredeemable and Incorruptible, you know, but even those like have characters that are, you know, I mean with the boys alone, just like that main team, you know, most of them are immigrants, you know, literally fresh off the boat. Like, you know,
Yeah,
you have
from
Frenchie,
France
you got
and
Irish and English and like and the female, we don't even, you know, she's
That's
I mean, but that I mean, it's not.
But look, I mean, that thing is, look at the boys.
It's
how
not even a
much
question.
fun they poke at the stereotypes and
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what makes it
they
so fun.
do not. They don't.
Hold
They're not
back.
trying to be safe about it. I mean, even with like the fact with like I think it was Incorruptible, where they had that whole arc with the crazy white supremacist. You know, once I think Homelander. I think that's what his name was. But he destroyed everything. You know, of course, a bunch of white supremacist groups come out of the woodwork, and they're just like, oh, it's because he's white and he's, you know, getting rid of all the darkies, and it's like. And especially at this day and age, it's like you wouldn't think that, but they do still exist, and it was still a good platform to like project that. You know, it was a really interesting thing. Like,
Right.
and they're doing that. I mean, you were
What
talking
I'd
about
actually
Ex
be interested to see
Machina.
is, like, what-
Oh yeah, one thing that Andrew brought up. I just finished reading Brian K. Vaughan's Ex Machina, which read it. It's awesome.
Okay.
But you know, I was reading in one of the comics, and so you have this black guy who's the mayor of New York City, and his deputy mayor is a black guy, and in two pages, the conversation between the two like touched upon so many like topics and issues I haven't even read in a comic before, like the whole idea of like white guilt, you know, like and seeing like a black character accuse a white guy of that, and you know, it was just like I was just blown away by just like how much it felt like a leap forward to me in 2 pages. I mean, I thought that was
understand.
kind of cool.
No, yeah, like you said, like for me it was Doom War.
Yeah, let's play. No, but we gotta talk about Doom
Yeah,
more.
we have to talk about Doom War in a sense that, okay, for me the one character that, you know, as a kid growing up and growing into adulthood that I kind of revered with a sense of pride was Black Panther, in the sense that he was a king. He's one of the smartest men in the world. His country, people have tried to attack it but have not been successful.
Right, and it's so technologically advanced.
You're right, and technology is advanced, and that you kind of revered, like you kind of, you know, as an African American male, you had a kind of a sense of pride with that.
Sure.
And Marvel decided to create another new arc, and what they did was, you know, I have to give them credit once again for, you know, for giving Black Panther a female voice. When they created, you know, when he went off, when he was injured, in the storyline, it was Doom had pretty much set up T'Challa, and
Which is the country that they're from.
well, no, T'Challa is the king.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Wakanda,
Well,
I'm
Wakanda's
sorry.
the country.
yeah, Wakanda's
Wakanda's
the
the
country.
country.
T'Challa's the
Thank
king. He's the current king, and he's basically had a plot to, you know, kind of
Set him up and steal his resources.
steal his resources. So, and then during that time, you know, there was a lot of introspection with T'Challa and his character and how he, you know, delved into mystical arts, and he was going to come back full strength to tackle this problem, because some of the issues that they were tackling was, you know, terrorists in their own country and stuff like that. So there was some serious,
They
like,
did a really good job paralleling like a lot of the
Right.
internal conflicts you see in African countries now.
or just in general, you know, like, see in some regions of the Middle East and some, you know, on that scale, and Black Panther is really a badass, you know what I mean? And he's tackling Doom, who's not his intellectual superior. maybe his intellectual equal. So I'm just looking for a straight up mono showdown. Okay, you have for those who don't know about Wakanda, their life's blood is vibranium, which is incorporated in a lot of technology that some of those Marvel superheroes use.
Captain America shield.
It's a MacGuffin. It's whatever you need it to
Right.
be.
So the climax comes. I'm like, oh, I'm waiting for Black Panther just to lay it down, give him just a really good pimp slap. and I'm reading, because I'm sitting here looking at these two equal characters,
Right.
and I was let down in like 3 pages of a limited 4-part issue, where in a sense where, okay, he destroys, in essence, to save the world, he destroys their life's blood, which is vibranium, in all the world. So that now, I'm like, well, now Wakanda's kind of just just on a norm with everyone else. And now, you don't have.
It's just it's a little Central African country that's
Right.
not really going to like.
And the
the
killer part that killed me about it was, you now have Shuri, who's the new Black Panther, because they have sovereignty over the adjoining country that he resides in, Latveria, and basically to paraphrase, they basically was like, well, after destroying their country's, economic system, basically she's like, well, if you cross this line, I'll get you.
So it was like Bad Doom.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much.
You go in the corner.
You might as well just took a ruler out and smacked him on his metallic hand. And it's not so. And in the last 2 pages, not so much that they should not receive help, but for a country who's never gotten, basically for contemporaries, never gotten their ass handed to them. The last panel, you have like Captain America and the Avengers and S.H.I.E.L.D. helping this country out. That was disturbing to me.
Yeah, it was. Well, because that's the thing is they had the chance to take a black character, an ethnic character, a minority character, and put him on. Like, Dr. Doom's Marvel's big baddie. It's him. It's pretty much him. It's like okay, everyone's fought him, everyone hates him, he always gets away with it. They had the chance to have him get his comeuppance from a prominent black character, and
They did
just
nothing with it.
Yeah.
Nothing with it.
That's a shame. I mean, like that sounded like the biggest letdown.
Yeah, it was like yeah.
It's insulting.
It was
It's
yeah,
insulting.
to me. I mean, it was kind of insulting to me that you had for since 1966 for over 40 years. This is the way you portrayed this particular country, and you snatch it up in 5 minutes.
Yeah. And well, what I find really insulting is where they've gone with him now, because now he's not even a king anymore. He's running around Hell's Kitchen as a grill cook.
Man, slash.
Yeah,
manager.
he's like the substitute teacher now. I mean, when Reed Richards goes on vacation, he and Storm took over Fantastic
That
Four,
was
and
one
now
of the most awkward stories.
And
I've
then now
ever heard.
Daredevil's gone, and he's like, "Oh, hey guys, who's coming to help out? Start a soup kitchen."
Right. I'm trying. Do some stuff. I'm gonna do some stuff.
It's like when in doubt, get Black Panther in there.